The sharp, sickening crunch of splintering wood was followed by my sister Lily's terrified cry echoing through the stunned silence like a gunshot. I stood frozen on the front lawn, horror seizing my chest as I watched our HOA president, Cynthia Monroe, dust her hands off with a practiced flick. Her expression was blank, devoid of the smallest flicker of remorse. Lily's wheelchair lay on its side at the base of our front steps, its twisted frame a cruel monument to Cynthia's accidental push. "Well, that was unfortunate," Cynthia said in a tone that would have been more appropriate for spilled coffee than a possibly re-injured disabled woman. What she didn't realize, what she couldn't begin to comprehend, was that the man glaring back at her with eyes lit by barely contained fury wasn't just some homeowner she could intimidate. I was Alexander Grant, federal judge of the Ninth Circuit, whose entire legal career had been dedicated to tearing down exactly this kind of callous abuse masquerading as regulation. But that moment, that horrifying scene, had been set in motion months earlier. It had been 6 months since the accident that robbed Lily of her mobility and forced her to move in with me at my home in Silver Pine Heights. I didn't hesitate to convert my ground-floor office into a bedroom for her, sacrificing my workspace without a second thought. To ensure she could enter and leave the house safely, I built a sturdy wooden ramp, temporary but secure, approved by the city and designed to last until the contractor finished installing the permanent one in a few weeks. I thought I'd done everything right. What I hadn't accounted for was Cynthia Monroe. For 8 years I'd tolerated the usual HOA nonsense, grass too long, trash bins left out for 10 minutes too many, that sort of thing. But the moment Cynthia took over as president, things escalated. She wasn't interested in order or fairness. She thrived on control. And her new obsession? My ramp. Atrocious, she had said during the last HOA meeting, her polished nails clicking on the conference table like claws. That unauthorized structure is an eyesore. It devalues the property in this community. I explained calmly and thoroughly. Showed her the permits, the signed contractor agreement, even letters from Lily's doctors stressing how essential it was to her recovery. Cynthia just waved it all off. "Rules are rules, Alexander," she said with a saccharine smile that never reached her eyes. "If your sister's needs are that intense, perhaps she should be somewhere more appropriate. A care facility, maybe?" The way she said it, with fake concern layered over thinly veiled cruelty, nearly made me lose my temper right then and there. But Lily's hand on my arm held me back. She needed me composed. For now. That comment had drawn a line in the sand. I knew I'd have to cross it eventually. The next morning, the memory still fresh in my mind, I was helping Lily down the ramp for her physical therapy appointment. The therapist had emphasized momentum. 6 months post-injury was critical to long-term progress. We were running late. I gently rolled her chair toward the car when I spotted Cynthia storming across the lawn, clipboard in hand, her 2 usual cronies trailing behind her like shadows. "Alexander," she called, her voice sweetened with fake politeness. "We need a word. Emergency inspection." "We're on our way to physical therapy," I said, already annoyed. "It's important. We'll have to talk later." She blocked my path to the car. Literally stepped in front of me. "This won't take long," she insisted. "The board held an emergency vote last night. We've decided to take action regarding violations that impact our community's aesthetics." Her gaze dropped pointedly to Lily's wheelchair. I kept my voice steady. "We have city approval. It's temporary. The permanent one will be installed in 3 weeks. City permits are irrelevant," she snapped. "You failed to get HOA Architectural Review Committee approval. That's required under our bylaws." She shoved a folded document at me. "This is your formal notice. You have 24 hours to dismantle the structure or face $200 daily fines, retroactive from today." Lily's hand trembled on my arm. "We need to go," she whispered. I looked at Cynthia, barely containing my fury. "We'll talk about this when I return." "There's nothing left to discuss," she replied coldly. "Maybe now you'll learn to follow proper procedures." We left, but my gut was twisted in dread. By the time we returned, the sun was high and my ramp was gone. In its place, splintered boards piled on the lawn. 2 workers were loading debris into a truck. Cynthia stood with arms crossed, wearing that smug smile I'd come to loathe. I threw the car into park and stormed out. "What the hell are you doing, Cynthia?" She didn't flinch. "Enforcing HOA regulations. You gave me 24 hours. I shouted. It's been 3. The board concluded this violation required immediate action, she replied, citing some obscure bylaw. Section 8, paragraph 3. You tore down our ramp, I said, voice cracking with disbelief. How is Lily supposed to get inside? That's not the HOA's concern, she said with a shrug. Neighbors had started to gather, but no one spoke. No one stepped in. Lily sat quietly in the car, pale, confused, terrified. There are 6 steps to the door, I said, voice shaking. You left her with no way in. Oh, for heaven's sake, Cynthia muttered, gesturing to the workers. Help them inside just this once. The men hesitated but obeyed, approaching Lily's chair with visible discomfort. They struggled. The process was slow, clumsy. This is ridiculous, Cynthia snapped, pushing one of them aside. Let me. I lunged forward. Cynthia, wait. Too late. She grabbed the handles and attempted to lift and tilt the chair, something she clearly had no idea how to do. Lily pleaded with her to stop. With a grunt, Cynthia yanked. Her grip slipped. The chair tipped and tumbled. Everything slowed. I watched helplessly as the chair flipped backward down 3 concrete steps, crashing violently to the sidewalk. Lily screamed a sound I will never forget and fell silent as the chair pinned her arm beneath its frame. I bolted to her side. Lily. Lily, talk to me. She was sobbing, clutching her arm, which had begun to swell and darken with bruises. Cynthia stood at the top of the steps, brushing imaginary dust off her clothes. Well, that was unfortunate, she said again. You just pushed my sister down the stairs. I bellowed. I did no such thing, she replied loudly, glancing at the watching neighbors. She fell. That chair was unsafe. Just proves my point. You nearly killed her. She should have had proper accommodations, Cynthia said, already turning away. That's when Mrs. Jensen, our neighbor from across the street, stepped forward. I saw everything, she whispered, kneeling beside me. That wasn't an accident. I have footage. We got Lily to the hospital. The x-rays showed a sprained wrist and bruised ribs. The doctor looked grim. She's lucky, he said. This could have been spinal. When I explained what happened, he gave me a long, serious look. You need to consider legal action, Mr. Grant. I already am, I told him. That night, I made the call I'd been avoiding, the one that would bring my 2 lives crashing together. Maria, I said to my law clerk, clear my docket. Prepare filings under ADA Title II, fair housing, and negligence. I'll send details. The next morning, Cynthia called an emergency HOA meeting. The email dripped with self-righteousness, aggressive homeowner behavior, threats to board members, violations of decorum. Lily insisted on coming. I want them to see, she said, her injured arm in a sling. The community center was packed. Cynthia presided at the head of the table, the same smug glint in her eyes. She ran through her version of events, omitting every relevant fact. She called the ramp an eyesore, accused me of intimidation, and presented photos meant to paint us as the problem. Then she asked if I had a response. I stood, adjusting my tie, and nodded toward Mrs. Jensen. She plugged her phone into the projector. The footage played. Every second. Crystal clear. Cynthia grabbing the chair. Lily pleading. The fall. The room gasped. Cynthia leapt to her feet. This video is misleading, she shouted. Context, I replied coldly. The context is you removed an ADA-compliant ramp without cause, endangered my sister, and caused her injury. That's the context. I looked out at the room. My name is Alexander Grant. Most of you know me just as your neighbor. What you may not know is that I serve as a federal judge for the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals. The room went still. My expertise includes housing law and the Americans with Disabilities Act. What happened yesterday violates multiple federal statutes, and I will be pursuing this to the fullest extent. Cynthia's face drained of color. Within minutes, a motion passed unanimously. The ramp would be reinstalled at HOA expense. A written apology would be issued. Cynthia resigned mid-meeting, muttering about personal reasons as she grabbed her things and fled. It wasn't over. Within days, federal agents arrived at Cynthia's home with a warrant. An investigation into ADA violations quickly unearthed financial misconduct. She'd embezzled thousands from the HOA, fake administrative fees, unapproved spending, personal accounts. She was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison. Banned for life from ever serving on any HOA board. And Silverpine Heights? Changed. Neighbors began to smile again. They stopped to talk. Helped carry groceries. An accessibility fund was established with the recovered money. Lily healed not just physically but emotionally. Her confidence grew. Her smile returned. Months later, a letter arrived. From prison. I never understood the damage I was causing, Cynthia wrote. Rules without compassion aren't justice. They're cruelty. Maybe she meant it. Maybe not. But watching Lily roll up the permanent ramp we'd finally installed, safe, sturdy, and surrounded by supportive neighbors, I knew the truth. Justice wasn't just served. Transformed us. Cynthia thought she was pushing Lily down. But really, she was just paving the way for something better to rise in her place.